Hey there. So, we're going to talk about one of the most powerful tools you have at your disposal for transforming any relationship in your life. And that is the simple but profound tool of attunement. So, let's talk for a moment about what the heck attunement is. So, the first thing to understand is that about 80% of communication that's happening between people is nonverbal. That means that about 80% of the interaction that's happening between you and another person is, for the most part, below your conscious awareness. The way that they're moving, the way that their eyes are functioning, even very subtle things that are way below our conscious awareness. The smell, the energetics, the emotional mirroring that's happening. There's all this information that's happening between you and basically everybody that you're in conversation with. But for the most part, we're not aware of it. So attunement is bringing more consciousness and more awareness to what's happening beneath the surface. So often we can say that if we're with somebody or there's a relationship in our life where there's a lot of conflict, a lot of dullness, in other words, it's boring, or a lot of miscommunication or misunderstanding of one another, we can say that your unconscious patterns are interacting with their unconscious patterns. It's a lot like you're both looking through fractured glass. Like if you had some glass in front of your face and it was broken across the stream, there's only so much that you can see. Some places are really clear, other places are blurry and confusing, and then some of them even like refract the light so that you sort of see a part of them over here rather than right where it's supposed to be. Well, you're both looking through fractured glass because we all have our trauma, we all have our unconscious elements, which create places where we're blind, where we can't see or sense the other person. And as you can imagine, if there are blind spots that both of you are holding, there's going to be misinterpretations, there's going to be conflict, there's going to be complex things. And generally what happens is we get used to a certain kind of patterning, right? Like this person says this, we don't understand it, so we get angry, and when we get triggered, then this person gets triggered, and there's this locked sort of practiced pattern that we get into. And these kinds of patterns are going to stay the same. They're going to play themselves out. Often it turns out that we end up getting in a lot of fights, or we end up deciding not to see this person anymore. So in other words, we kind of go around in this loop until we either numb ourselves out or we exit the relationship. So the power of attunement, and remember, attunement is we use our entire nervous system and our entire energy system to sense the other person. So not only are you consciously putting more attention on the other person, in other words, you're consciously being with them, listening. One way of thinking about this is listening with the entire body, listening with the whole nervous system, right? You can sense into somebody. So not only are you bringing more awareness to this other person, which means that the places that you haven't seen before, you might start to get a little bit more information. You might start to open up some of these places that are in the fractured glass, but you're also bringing more presence and attunement to yourself. You can't fully sense someone else unless you are also feeling at a deep level within your whole body. So great. So we're attuning with another person. We're able to sort of feel and sense them. It's almost like our bodies are a radar. And when you're with that person, you can feel and sense them. And that means that we have to sort of put the reactionary, habitual way that we usually interact with them off to the side, right? If you're really listening and really attuning to somebody, you can't immediately jump on their words. You can't immediately get angry. You're feeling into and sensing into the moment. So you have to kind of be present in a different way. So great. So attunement is happening. Why and in what way is this going to transform my relationship? Well, you are naturally going to start to shift a pattern if you bring more consciousness into the situation, right? If you bring more awareness into the situation, it's almost like the whole situation itself that's happening between you two starts to brighten up. Somebody starts to turn the light on in places where we haven't been able to see before. One way of thinking about this is if I start sensing somebody more precisely, like I'm bringing more awareness, more consciousness into the space, their 80% that's a nonverbal is going to start sensing that I'm sensing them. Even if they're not consciously aware of it, they're going to feel that I'm noticing them at a higher degree. I'm noticing I'm more attuned to them. I'm feeling them at a deeper level. They're going to start to feel that even if they're not conscious of it, which means that the usual pattern, which is, what did we say? It was like this person says something, I misunderstand it and get angry, and then me getting angry means that this person, adding a little bit more awareness into the situation. This person says something that's misunderstood, but I'm attuned to them. So maybe I'm understanding it 5% more, or I'm feeling them in a little bit more. And when they say it, they kind of feel that you're sensing them deeper, and they start to sort of be present in a different way as well to the situation. So you're basically adding like a new pattern to the matrix, and it's going to ripple out into the relationship. Now, if you do this on a regular basis where you're bringing more consciousness, bringing more attunement to the relationship, which means that also means that when something doesn't feel good, you feel that more in yourself, or you notice when your person is tense or anxious. You start to feel them at subtler and subtler levels. Well, if you continue to do this, the relationship itself will start to transform. And that means that it's going to start to transform towards the better. Whether that betterness means that you and your person start to find resolution and get closer or closer, or that it means that you start to realize that this isn't the connection you should be in, and it starts to move in a different direction. You bringing more presence and consciousness to your relationships transforms them. Thanks for tuning in with me. I always love connecting in these ways, and I look forward to connecting again in the future.